Hey everyone, this is Peter, one of the hosts of Cobra Kai Kompanion, and this is interview number 11, originally aired on August 27th of 2018, where it originally aired on TV Ate My Brain before we started Cobra Kai Kompanion. And this is the interview.
Hi, this is Vanessa Rubio. I play Carmen on Cobra Kai, and you're listening to TV Ate My Brain. And nobody messes with my son, Miggy.
Welcome to TV Ate My Brain, the official TV podcast of Core Temp Arts. And I am Peter, also host of Podstalgic.
And I'm Tom, co-host of Jake and Tom Conquer the World.
And we cover the Cobra Kai show on YouTube's premium channel. And we have another interview today for the first time, one of the TV moms.
Yes, if you've listened to our reviews of the show, you'll know that both Peter and I are particularly fond of those characters.
Yeah, this one was really exciting, for me at least. Tom, you sounded like you had a great time speaking with her as well.
Oh, very much.
We've been wanting to pick the brains of like the moms on this show for quite some time, so I'm glad Miss Rubio was able to join us. A lot of fun things she talks about. We find out that she's kind of a person, that has the jack of all trades, to take that expression. She sings, she models, she writes, she directs, and she acts. So she does everything.
Super talented lady.
Yeah, she really is. So, she talks about being on screen with Rose Bianco, who plays Yaya, Sholo, who plays her on-screen son. So just, a fun person to speak with and just very down to earth.
Very much so, yes.
So we definitely had a great time speaking with her, and this is the conversation.
Hi, Peter.
How are you doing this morning?
Pretty good.
Hey, Tom.
Yes, sir.
All right, we got Ms. Rubio on the call.
Hi. Hi, Tom. How are you?
Excellent. Good to meet you, ma'am.
Good to meet you, too.
Just a little bit about us, I guess. We, we're obviously a fan of the show, and we, when Cobra Kai first launched, we saw a lot of people were just doing like one episode season reviews, and we just thought the content in the show was just so rich that we needed to do every episode individually and break down, the scenes and the dialogue and, such great dynamics, with the characters. And it was starting to, we were getting some really positive reviews on that approach. And towards the end of our actual coverage, I was kind of scrambling, trying to figure out what else to do to kind of not only stay relevant, but to kind of be out there for other hardcore fans. And I just started reaching out to cast members, and they say yes, and they'd come on. So we're happy that you came on to speak with us.
Yeah, of course. And thanks for reaching out. I listened to a few of the episode reviews and then a few of the interviews.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
I didn't really know what to expect. And you guys do such an in-depth review. It's amazing.
Oh, we appreciate that. That's very high praise.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you do. So thank you for doing that because, you work and you don't really know who's watching, and the feedback just gets, lost in a sea of a lot of people. But it's nice to hear you guys go through really carefully, like almost with the care of the creators of the show,
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Yeah, I think like for me personally, and maybe Tom has some opinions as well. I feel like the writers and creators, Billy Zabka, everybody, even the actors on the show, everybody put so much hard work into it, and we wanted to kind of reciprocate that, put really hard work into the content that we create as well. For the fans, these are the behind the scene tidbits that they're not going to get anywhere else, at least for now. So we're creating content that we want to hear ourselves. And so, again, with what you just said and, Miss Erin Bradley Danger, who also listens to our show, we can't thank you guys enough for supporting us, while we're loving your show, so I think
it's very humbling.
Okay. Yeah, well, you're very welcome. It's a circle that goes round, so
yeah,
here we are.
Here we are indeed. So I guess we'll just get into it if nobody has any kind of other questions. Can you talk a little bit about yourself? You grew up in New York, was it?
No, actually, I grew up in New Jersey.
Okay, you
Um,
know what?
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't know much about the East Coast.
I know enough about New York and New Jersey that if you confuse them, it ticks them off.
Yes,
Not me. I don't mind. I think it's all one, tri-state, similar accents. Of course, there are different nuances, but I'm not sure. I know maybe one or two of the producers are from Jersey, maybe all three of them. I don't know, but we definitely bonded over the Jersey thing. um,
Very cool.
because yeah, because and in the original uh story, Ralph Macchio's character is from Jersey,
that's
so
right.
it's nice. Yeah, it's nice to have some Jersey roots. I grew up in northern New Jersey and in a town called Lodi, and I always tell people it's where the Misfits are from because that's the
The
most
band,
famous.
right?
Yeah, the band.
Excellent. Yeah, as somebody who's spent all of their life in Michigan, I've always kind of romanticized New Jersey in particular because of all the people that have come out of there. You know, you got Bruce Springsteen, Jack Nicholson, uh, Danny DeVito, Bon Jovi. You know, you have all these movies that take place in television shows, so it's a very romanticized part of the country.
Yeah, in kind of a strange way, right? It's very,
Mhm.
I don't know, in my view, it's kind of like working class, kind of getting out there and has some
Yeah,
sort of grit
exactly.
to it that.
It's something that everybody can relate to on one level or another, and it's just a place that I feel like I've got to see at least one time. I've got to walk on a New Jersey boardwalk before I head off.
Yeah, I would recommend it. I definitely would recommend the Jersey Shore.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, Jersey is just, it's very down, like, plain and down to earth, I would
Hmm.
say. I consider myself now a New Yorker because I've spent so many years in New York. And I find my creative freedom in New York, but I definitely have my Jersey roots, That's where I grew up. That's what formed me.
Excellent, excellent. So you can take the girl out of Jersey.
Yes. Exactly.
I was looking around on your IMDb page, and I saw that you're also active behind the camera as a director. Uh, can you shed a little bit of light on that?
Well, that was a project that I did a long time ago, and it's more of a film experiment. Um, but I will say that I'm a creator. I mean, I'm an artist in many ways. I paint, I write, I just, I like to channel ideas. And that project, it was a one act, and it was just, my first uh, adventure into going behind the camera. And I
Hmm.
haven't done it since, although I really wanted to. Um, but man, what a great experience. I mean, directing is something I think I would really like to do in the future. I just haven't really gotten around to it since then, but
Okay.
it was a wonderful experience. I mean, I was I was looking at the actors thinking, "Oh my God, you have it so easy," because being in the director's seat was just like it was exhilarating and creatively fulfilling in a whole other level. Um, and then acting is still my home base, though.
Now, you mentioned that you're a creator, and I was just wondering, your character in particular, well, all of the mothers I adored on this show because they're the ones
Oh,
that seem
thank
to
you.
have the most intelligence, they seem to have the most common sense, they seem to be just the only ones who are rationalizing this and thinking things through. And I was
Oh
just
my God.
wondering, being that you're a creator, did you have any input on your character?
Well, first off, thank you, and I agree with you. When you're putting together a project like this, you just come in and you do your work, and I always equate it to baking a pie. Where I'll come in and we do our thing, and then we're like, all right, see you in a couple months and see how the pie came out. And I love what the result. I was just floored by it. It it was better than all of my expectations, honestly. And I
Yeah.
was watching it with my boyfriend, and we were just like zoomed through and my family was really ecstatic too. Um, and I agree with you. The women in the show are kind of like the steady points and the wise ones. Um, in terms of my character, I formed her. It kind of forms along the way. You know, it's like the audition process. You get a taste of it, and then you start marinating with it, and then when you learn you have the job, then you start to really kind of dig in. But for me, I guess it came pretty naturally. Um, I had kind of like gotten a sense just via the audition sides of what this character was going through. And from the get-go, I had envisioned her, you know, they said that she had come from Ecuador with her young son and mother after her son was born. So I was like, okay, you know, that and that alone, you know, I can imagine
That
having
would
a
be
newborn
rough.
baby, and then
Yeah.
that would be rough, you know. And they mentioned something about, you know, a rough past, escaping, you know, a tough husband or, you know, father of the son. So I was like, wow, okay. And just based on people who I know, people in my family, you know, even if you come to this country, my father, you know, still has an accent, and my family's from Colombia. You still have an accent, you know, even after all those years. So I was like, well, I think this character would have an accent then. And so I developed an accent for her, and yeah, just kind of took in her journey, and I just wanted to be true to it. And just I stick with that, you know. I can't think about too much besides the personal journey and how I can relate to them in terms of what I've lived through in my life.
You know, Tom kind of touched on how the mothers and a lot of the women have very strong roles on the show.
Hmm.
Tom, I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of our interactions are with moms and, you know, just women. So uh, I almost called you Carmen, but Miss Rubio, to you, like, have you noticed like your interactions with fans, people on the street, or even social media? Has your interactions been with fans been more with like women or with men?
That's so interesting. It's been more with men because I think men are more maybe the fans of the show, and maybe are just maybe more vocal about it. So like for example, on the train, a couple times people were like looking at me and they were like, "I've seen you somewhere," and I'm like, "Well, I'm on this show," and then they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I was just watching it last night." And in those instances, they were men, and they happened to be like sports going guys, you know. So I don't know if that's the demographic, but it's been more with men. But I have to say, I agree with you in terms of how women hold up communication. And like for example, my sister loved it, and she was just like floored, you know, by the show. Um, I think in general, like you know, women form a kind of like rivers of communication. You know what I mean? You hear about the family news mostly via the females in your family.
I think that's a very fair thing to say.
Right. Um, which I appreciate. And yeah, so in terms of the show, more men fans, but I guess in terms of life and how I experience it, I communicate via women mostly.
Now, I definitely want to get into some of your other work a little bit later, but when it came to Cobra Kai, what was your auditioning process? Did you have an agent that kind of found out about the auditions, or did you yourself catch whiff of it?
Yeah, I have an agent, and that's how it came into my hands. And it was a self tape, which I think I don't know. Usually, when I do self tapes, I'm never really sure if people actually look at them. You know.
As a podcaster, I can relate.
But you know, so it was good. I got feedback on it on the same day, so I'm like, oh, okay, they are actually looking at them. And luckily enough for me, I guess things happened the way they're supposed to happen. I think it was like the third rushed audition that I had gotten because they give it to you with maybe a day's notice. And it was the third of this kind, so I was a little worn out. I was a little like, oh, you know, I don't know if I can do this memorize these lines. So I read it with a girlfriend of mine the night before and just, to go over it. And then I think because it was the third in a series of next day auditions, I really wasn't thinking about it too much. And I just kind of let it be natural, which is, I think, exactly what was needed because it's, anyway, Carmen's character very much is family based, So, so I think that helped me in the end. I just, I felt the character more naturally, and I wasn't putting too much pressure on myself.
So it's that whole theory of acting versus reacting, which really helped you out.
Yeah. It was kind of like, okay, this is it. It's just life,
And what scene did you, or I guess for your self-tape, what was the script that was given?
It was Carmen getting mad, Billy Zabka's character, Johnny.
Oh, great.
And I forgot. Oh, it was the first initial scene where Carmen is introduced as a character, where she comes home from work and she's like, hey, And I don't know if you remember from the series where my son,
Sholo.
the character, yes, exactly, Sholo and Carmen's mother, Rose, are having dinner, and then I come in from work.
Mm-hmm.
It was that scene.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I've kind of noticed from our interviews, it sounds like a lot of people were given like the scenes that were very emotional. So I think that's kudos to like the casting director and, the producer and everybody just kind of deciding like, we want the ones that can really hit those emotional beats.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I really don't know what their intentions were with assigning those two scenes, but I will say for my end, especially the scene with Sholo and Rose, I was able to, just with the sides, and, you kind of get a sense because the sides are either well written or they're not. And these were well written, and I know that they're well written is because they don't feel like work to me. I'm just like, oh, this is easy. I recognize this. This is like written like life, how people talk.
Yeah, the dialogue on this show was just stupendous.
Mm-hmm. It really was. And simple, to the point, natural. And that scene, anyway, helped me to establish who my son was to me and who my mother was to me. And kind of it was fun to go back and forth between them. So that was established, and that was already fun. Already in the audition room, it was fun.
When did you get to meet Sholo and Rose?
I got to meet them on set. And that was really nice because me and Rose, we're in a lot of scenes together. So, and it was nice. She's a lovely, lovely woman. And so is, Sholo's. Oh my gosh, Sholo's amazing. But it was really nice establishing, the relationship with Rose because me and her were just on set together anyway, talking about this and that. And I was like, oh, you could feel like my mother, we established that pretty quickly and just like kind of running around on set and eating together and stuff like that.
Now, the more and more of these interviews that I get to take part in, the common theme that is running through all of them is it just seems like the producers almost put together like a very tight-knit, small community. I have not heard anybody say one bad thing about any of the fellow actors, script writers, camera people, cast people. Everybody seems to have really gotten along and supported one another tremendously on this project.
Absolutely. I would agree. I mean, I came in, I certainly had probably an easier role because I feel like, Billy and Sholo and Ralph and also Courtney too, they were in a lot of the episodes and Sholo and Billy, oh, they did I love their chemistry, on screen. And they were on set, for all the episodes. I was there for maybe 4 episodes, I think. So I kind of was able to come in and out. But even then there's definitely no drama on my end or anything because, it's just like, you're working on part of the Karate Kid saga. Like, what are you going to complain about?
Oh
Now,
yeah.
real quick, don't undersell yourself. As far as I mean, you did great. Like I said, the mothers were
Oh,
Yeah.
thank
the
you.
best. They were the smartest characters, and I mean, your character in particular just seemed like a very fierce mama bear that I wouldn't want to cross.
Nope.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, I almost, you know, doing the role, I was like, this is almost a tribute to my mother and
Mm-hmm.
all the mothers that I have known, because I mean, you put in the mix of being a mother and then all coming into this country, a whole new ball game, and just kind of the amount of strength that entails just to get through
Yeah.
it. And then also, being a single mother, which, I wasn't raised by a single mother. My parents were together, but, putting that also in the mix of like, wow, what if my mother was single and she's raising a son, not a daughter. So I think there comes a certain point anyway, in certain mother-son relationships when the son is becoming a man. And, while the mother can teach him so much, she can't really teach him how to be a man.
I really do love the relationship between Carmen and Miguel. Like, I feel they are very tight. And the very
Hmm.
first time that you call him Miggy, I was just like, that shows how tight they are. And he's not annoyed by that nickname, that term of endearment. Some would, roll their eyes. What kind of backstory would you give those two characters? Because we get the sense, obviously his father hasn't been around. So did the writers did they give you anything to work with, or did you have to come up with it yourself?
Well, they certainly came up with the storyline that the father was not a good guy, and that, probably Carmen alluded to the fact that Carmen probably had to leave Ecuador, in terms of like just basically getting away from him and saving her life and her son's life, probably. So that was definitely given to by the writers, but as an actor, you get to then delve into the details of that and flesh it out. And I write a lot, and so I would spend my time in the trailer writing about how that experience would have been, and you know, just kind of putting myself in that position. And you come up with these little nuggets of like, oh right, after I had this kid, all of a sudden I had plenty of energy to just go to another country, because I think that happens. I don't have children myself, but imagining if I did, I think if you have children, they give you a certain amount of new energy, because it's not just your life anymore. So I attributed that, and I found that nugget for myself, and I was like, oh, okay, it helped me locate more where Miguel was, what he meant for Carmen.
Now, this is going to sound like a weird question, and I apologize because it just occurred to me because, to me, your character just seemed like a very, very fierce survivor, and her sole motivation was to make sure that this kid also survived, but also was a productive, valuable member of society. Now, I'm assuming that
Right.
Carmen would be very proud that he won the tournament, but how do you think she would react to the way he won the tournament?
I don't think she's all that crazy about the way he won it. Definitely not. It's interesting because it's so it's sort of why we love these stories, because they mimic so much of real life, and sometimes a parental love can only take a child so far. The
Mm-hmm.
child has to learn their own ways and make their own mistakes. So I think while there's this huge, immense love that she has for her son, and it's really wonderful, because I mean, I don't know, it just, I feel it, whenever I was doing the scenes, I was on set, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this kid. You know what I mean? Like my son. It almost like I almost felt like I had a son. Um, but it can only go so far, You have to let them make their mistakes, and hopefully he's not going too far into the dark side, But
Mm-hmm.
I think she's proud that he's um, empowered, and uh, you know, he's totally done a wonderful arc through the first season.
Yes.
So I think that's something to be proud of. But
All of the new Cobra Kai's really. I mean, their story arcs are amazing.
yes, yes. Yeah, but certainly, you know, now on the edge of at the end of season 1, you're like, whoa, well, now what's happening? You know, which I thought was brilliant.
Absolutely. Now, you used the phrase "the Karate Kid saga." Were you a fan of the series prior to your involvement with it?
Oh man, you know, I have to say I have to attribute. I was pretty young because I was pretty young when it came out. So my memories of coming across it were all due to my older brother. I have an older brother who was the exact age of probably maybe a little younger of Ralph Macchio in the original. So he would watch it continuously. So that's how I came across it. And you know, I was very young, so I remember snippets of it and being like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening?" But I almost envisioned like my house growing up. It was almost constantly in the background, you know, and we all did I don't know if it was like an 80s craze or something, but you know, the third of 3 kids, and we all took karate.
Wow.
It was
all,
very big in the 80s. Very big.
yeah, I think it was. And it was in, you know, all the things that it does. It's empowering. It shapes you up. And honestly, my parents were like, you know, you need to exercise, do something. So we got, I don't know why I did it for a couple of years and I got to high brown belt and I just didn't go for black belt. I just got too intimidated or something. But I will say that, you know, my kicks are still good. It stays in your body. But in terms of the Karate Kid, yeah, it was mostly my brother who was having it, you know, playing constantly. And it was 1 and 2. I have to say I'd never seen 3. But I did see 1 and 2, various times growing up. And, yeah, it's just like a classic movie. It's kind of one of those movies where like you can't imagine growing up without it.
No,
You know?
not at all.
Right? And that's,
And the amazing thing about it is
special.
the first one in particular, I saw it one way as a kid where, yeah, I was kind of the awkward kid who got bullied and all of that. But now that I'm older and I'm able to actually see it through the mother's point of view and more importantly, Mr. Miyagi's point of view, it becomes such a deeper and richer movie as a result of just age.
Exactly. Right. And
Now,
how to be a mentor.
exactly, yeah. Now, you mentioned that your brother was a huge fan of those first 2 movies. What kind of reaction did he give you when you found out what you were going to be doing?
Oh man, it was like a quiet joy or something. It was just like this, you know, really cool. Like he's obviously like super proud. But he saw the first 2 episodes, and then he shared it with his 2 sons because I have 2 nephews, and they watched it together. So I thought that was nice, and my dad also watched it. So I thought it was nice. It was kind of like a nice male bonding thing.
That is so awesome. Just the whole family thing it's a very nice little side story. I really really like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Now we understand that like the filming the show, you know, it was kind of fast paced. Did you spend a lot of time with Sholo, like behind the scenes, in order to kind of develop your guys' chemistry? Because I mean, it seems like you guys have known each other for a very long time.
Oh, I'm so happy that you feel that way. We didn't get to bond too much. I mean, obviously in what we could. I mean, Sholo's shooting schedule is very busy. But yeah, I mean, he's a great kid. He's just like super, oh my God, hilarious. Just so funny. And just a joy to work with, you know what I mean? So I find it hard like for somebody not to be able to bond with him, you know, and to have a good time shooting with him. So I was able to spend more time with Rose because just, you know, schedule wise, but enough time, obviously, to bond with Sholo as well, although not as much as with Rose.
Yeah, it's a really sweet relationship. When I see you guys on screen together, it makes me smile. Even the point where she picks him up from school a little bit early is like, hey, let's go watch that new Spider-Man movie. Like I see her really trying, and it kind of breaks my heart a little bit when he turns her down. I'm like, that's a Marvel movie a kid is turning down.
I know, right? I know, it was heartbreaking. But certainly I think we've all had that moment where we're coming into our own, and we do all these mean things to our parents. It's awful.
Now, I don't want any spoilers, obviously, as far as season 2 is concerned, but are we going to be perhaps seeing more of your character? Are you allowed to say that?
Even if I was allowed to, I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't gotten, yeah, I just know that, we will be back, and everybody's really happy about that. I'm happy about that.
Okay, you're saying we will be back, so I'm going to take that as yes, we're going to see more Carmen. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm
right,
hoping.
Right.
Yeah. As far as I know right now, yes.
I mean, the moms got to come back. I think they were, like kind of the backbone of all the characters too.
That was the very same phrase I was thinking. Yeah, without the mothers, that show would not have been the same.
Even Yaya.
Very true.
Yeah.
Crazy Yaya.
Now, what was it like working with Billy Zabka? Because you guys share some very amazing scenes as well. And the one that the first popped into my head is the kind of misdirect that they try to give us, where Johnny's at a door and he's talking to somebody about getting a second chance, and it's revealed to be Carmen and not actually Shannon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Billy was amazing and such a wonderful, genuinely nice a human being. And I, when I met him, I was like, oh man, like I can't believe this person was known for such a long time for being a bully. Like that was the most that people associated with him. And meanwhile, he couldn't be a nicer person and really a wonderful person to work with. It was just, acting stuff, basically, just having a good acting partner who's present, who's there, who's willing to work with you. And that's what it all is about. So that was my experience with Billy. Super warm human being. And what was the second part of your question? I forgot.
I was just kind of referencing like the scene that popped up first. It's because I thought it was a great reveal that he decided to give, or he wants to work it out with Miguel and goes to Carmen. It's like, look, I'm a good guy.
Right. Yeah, I like that too, because I felt like it's almost like breaking his character down a little bit emotionally, allowing that vulnerability to show, which then endears us to him. And it comes through this, what I think is a really cute family. I think the Diaz family is super cute.
Yes.
They're just
absolutely.
like, doing their own thing, trying to make it work, and not afraid to invite this guy over for dinner and be like, hey, what are you about? And I like the fact also that we have family dinners.
Yeah, you don't see enough of those anymore. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
One of your guys' sit-downs was pretty amazing when, Carmen kind of notices Sholo or Miguel's hands, kind of bruised up as she asks about it. And Yaya's like, you don't want to know.
I know. I was like, when I first met Rose, I was like, Rose, you have all the funny lines. She has all the punchlines, I thought that scene was hilarious.
Yeah, it's a well-written scene, and Rose has a very good comedic timing, too.
Very good, yes.
Yeah, she does. She totally does.
Now, as somebody who's just looking at it from very far outside, this show seemed to kind of come out of nowhere and really struck a chord with fans of all ages, demographics, and everything. And I was really happy to see that it got the reaction that it did. As somebody who was involved with the production, Did you expect it to be received the way it did, and what was your reaction to the fans?
I went into it kind of not wanting to put too much expectations on it, honestly.
Hmm.
If you're an actor, you kind of learn pretty quickly that's a better. Anyway, I learned pretty quickly that's a better emotional route to take. I don't want to be too disappointed all the time. So I was just like, whatever, it's going to be what it is. But I mean, obviously, having having Ralph Macchio and Billy Zabka in it, and knowing that they wouldn't sign on to something that wasn't true to, to what they have established already with this, with the Karate Kid, that alone gives you a lot of confidence, right?
Hmm.
We shot it in Atlanta, and I just, I'm based in New York right now, so I flew in and just kind of did my work, and was obviously happy to be doing it. I mean, as an actor, and you get a good role like this, you're happy, So I went into it I didn't want to expect much, and I didn't know, I just knew that the sides that I had been given were well written. The actors that I was working with were wonderful. And I was like, okay, it'll be what it is. And once I saw it, I was like, wow, this is so cool. I was like, because I think the producers are just genius with striking the right tone that I recognize from all the movies that I grew up with. And while I'm not like, they probably have it down to a science or something to be able to establish it again, I'm like, man, why do I feel like I felt like when I was watching these movies?
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
feel like, I feel exhilarated. I feel like I'm rooting for these characters. I'm so psyched when they finally kick ass. It's all those things that you want. So I think, for me anyway, watching it as a viewer, I was like, wow, I couldn't be happier. And then, the viewers' responses, wow, and it makes me even more happy.
Now, I understand that Ralph was always around on set as well. What were your interactions with him like?
With Ralph, well, because Carmen and Ralph don't even really know each other,
Right.
in the sequence of events. So we didn't have too much interactions with each other, but we do actually share the same agent. So that was, when we were on set and meeting each other, you know, my interactions were more with Billy, but when I did interact with Ralph, super, super great guy. I mean, he's a pro, so you're just talking with a pro and enjoying it.
The very last episode, during the tournament, we understand that, it was a pretty bad snowstorm. What was your experience like, with Rose filming that day or those
Oh
days?
my gosh. That was actually, I think that day we filmed was my birthday.
Oh,
And yeah, it was kind of funny because I was like, wow, what a crazy birthday. Like this, I'm filming the last scene of this thing, and that last scene was intense. I mean, we had a lot of extras on set, and a lot of stunt people, and I feel like almost that was the day that I felt like that this was going to be amazing, like truly amazing, because you see these people doing, the stunt people doing flips in the air, and these martial artists like just warming up, and they're doing these amazing things, and you're like, oh my god. And also the stunt coordinator, who was amazing. He was doing the referee, and that also brought back feelings of the first movie. Um, just that alone, kind of made me like exhilarated. But there was a bad snowstorm, and we were in Atlanta, and Atlanta didn't have, it doesn't have the snow experience as
Yeah,
New
I was gonna
York
say,
does, I
doesn't
guess.
that's Atlanta and snow don't go together in my head.
right.
I
Yeah.
know. I almost felt like I was a lot of Atlanta's had this like sort of post traumatic experience with snow. Like it started snowing, and then all the people who were Atlanta based were like, "Oh my God, I have to go home now!" Like, and I was like, "What's wrong?" They were like, "No, last snowstorm was horrible."
Now, how many inches did they get down there?
It wasn't. I don't even remember, but it was a bit. It was like maybe I don't know, below 10, definitely. But the thing is, they're highways, and they're like 5, 10 lane highways.
Yeah, and if they don't have the equipment there to remove it, it would be awful.
Exactly, and I mean, that's like a little simple thing could turn into a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
So they let us off early that day, and and we did get stuck in the snow in our little van that was taking us back. But it all turned out okay. And I remember, talking with the one of the drivers, and we had a good time just kind of getting through it. It was fine in the end.
Now, speaking of the tournament, we've been very, very fortunate enough to have seen a couple of small little videos and photos that a lot of the actors and their mothers have taken from behind the scenes. And was filming that day as fun as it looks like in those photos? Because it looked like everybody was just having a blast.
Yeah, it was a blast. I mean, whenever you get a lot of people together, right, it feels like a party or some event. So there was definitely that event feeling. And yeah, it was amazing because I have to say, like, these martial artists who were there, it was impressive stuff.
Mm.
And even though, we were going back and forth and like, okay, getting the reaction shots and stuff like that, but even though we were reacting to like a fake stimulus during those shots, if we weren't faking it, that we were actually seeing this stuff during the breaks or when they were filming their scenes. They were actually doing this stuff. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I get really excited when I see people doing incredible stunts. I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah,
like how
yeah,
did you
that's
do
always
that? It's
impressive.
amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things learning about when talking within these interviews is finding out like some of the multiple takes, that people will do to kind of get the right lines. With your character, Carmen, were there any scenes that you had where they just had you say, hey, try this line or try this? Anything like that?
I don't think so. I don't remember. No, not really.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Carmen's character was pretty, like, straight-laced, kind of what you mentioned, like, Rose had a lot of the punchlines. I feel those are the ones that they say, hey, try, this line, with a bunch of different takes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. She got a lot of those. And also because a lot of her lines are in Spanish, so especially she would be like, oh, should I say it this way or am I saying it this way? So me and her would kind of go over and be like, oh, because we would be making it up in Spanish.
Now, outside of Cobra Kai, do you have any other upcoming projects or anything like that you're going to be releasing soon, or anything that you want to direct our listeners' attention to?
Let me see. There is a short film, like an independent short film that I did called Lucid, and I'm really proud of it because I did it with a bunch of actors who I know here in the New York community. And it's really like I equate it to an episode of Black Mirror.
Oh,
So it's really good. We've been getting into a few festivals. We just got into some film festivals in Colombia. So I'm like excited. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll get a trip down there and see my family as well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The trailer looks great. I
Oh,
did
thank
watch
you.
that last
Oh,
night.
good.
And
Good.
not only that, I kind of wanted to bring this one up, but I'm very interested in the Hudson tribes.
Yes, and it's
Kind of
as far as
inspired by our true story.
yeah, it's inspired by a true story of upstate New York and just this kind of political school battle that was going on and really raging, I think, like a few years back, like in 2014. I'm not sure the status of it now. But yeah, NPR did a whole special on it. It was really getting messy up there. And what happened was the director and his brother, the producer, were actually from that area. They grew up there. So they wrote this fictional take on it. And I was the lead in that movie. And it was a really powerful movie, really heavy characters to take on. But I have to say, I'm really proud of the work that we did there. And it's available on Amazon as far as I know.
Yeah,
I'll have
yeah.
to check it out. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, that's the one with the like Amish people in there too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I was
exactly.
just like, oh, what is this?
Yes, exactly. It's totally fictional, but based on sort of a real life political situation.
Now, do you also do a little bit of singing yourself?
A little bit of singing, yes, I do love to sing. I will say that I haven't trained like Broadway style, so but I do sing. I sing to myself. There's a lot of singers in my family, and for my role in How to Be Single, that's basically what the audition was. It was singing. So I was proud of that because it was a chance for me to sing and feel good about it on screen.
That's the reason I brought that question up because I was about to say, How to Be Single is one of my favorite rom-coms like ever. I love that movie. I think it's hilarious. And your character,
It is.
you're actually in footage. You're on a tape with your daughter, and there's just this one emotional moment where you're singing "Can't Take Up My Eyes Off You," and you're a widower, played by Damon Wayans Jr. just starts tearing up, and I'm a father of three, and I couldn't stop
Oh,
bawling.
wow.
So as funny as that
Oh,
movie is, there's some heart to it, and I definitely encourage a lot of the listeners to check out that movie if they haven't yet. Super hilarious, and obviously you're in it, and you get to sing in it.
yes, exactly. I get to sing in it, which I was, and also, I mean, I guess I do love kids, so it was nice to be able to sing to my on-screen child, and Damon Wayans Jr. was also there, so it was a nice family moment. It was nice.
Yeah, I don't know her name, but she's such a little cutie.
Yes, very much so. But yeah, that movie was hilarious. I have to agree with you.
Oh yeah, it's so great. I think Leslie Mann, that might be my favorite role for her,
Yes,
because
yes.
her character, it demands so much emotion. Just because I don't want to spoil it. Obviously, I'm trying to be as vague as I can. But there's a scene in particular where she has to kind of react to a baby, and I think that's one of the most sincere moments I've ever seen with her. So it's so good.
Mhm. Mhm. I agree.
As we kind of get ready to wrap up, I have, we were kind of talking about 80s and nostalgia and, the Karate Kid being kind of big in your household. There's a movie, if they keep talking about whether it's going to be remade or not. I wish it does. And I kind of found this on I feel like it was your Facebook. I might have seen this in, but I would love to see you in a remake of The Last Dragon.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh, me
oh,
too.
Yeah, I would love to see
Yes.
you in the vanity role. I think that would be great.
Oh my God, yeah. And that actually, that was another movie that was. It seemed to be constantly playing in my house,
It's a great
and
movie.
I can't imagine. It's a great movie, and I can't really imagine growing up without it. That was another one of my brother's favorites, and that movie for sure. I mean, we know every line. Me and my sister just, and of course, me and my sister would, sing all the songs. But the vanity role, yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, I would love to play that role. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? My hair popped out. I'm all about it.
Let's start that campaign. Yeah, I'd love it.
And but see, the genius would be just like what happened with Cobra Kai is keeping all that '80s weirdness because that movie
Yeah.
is super weird.
Oh yeah, it is weird. I mean, are you gonna have another DeBarge like music video in the middle of the movie? It's
Yeah,
crazy. Obviously,
exactly.
you'd have to get somebody that's a little bit more current, but I think that'd be great. Oh my God, how cool would it be if like Cardi B came out and did a video or something, for like The Last Dragon?
Absolutely amazing.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yes, I know I'm probably not allowed to curse, but I was about to, all my excitement over that idea was going to make me say yes.
Oh, no, go ahead by
oh,
all means.
yeah.
Effing,
Please
effing
express.
amazing. Effing
Okay.
amazing. Please curse. Yeah, I think that's a go.
Oh yeah, but they keep talking about it. I feel like it's been over a decade that they're like, oh, Samuel L. Jackson's gonna play Sho'nuff. Like I feel that that's the only news we've heard for years. So yeah, I don't know what's stopping them. I hope with something like Cobra Kai saying like, look, we can take an 80s property and make it popular, because there's been many failed attempts in terms of like the remakes, on film. But if this does anything, I hope it can bring properties like The Last Dragon into light and remake it for the fans.
Yeah, I agree. Let's continue to hope.
And that concludes our conversation with Miss Rubio. I want to thank her again for coming on the show. And one of my favorite tidbits, Tom, was when she says that she listened to some of our episodes, interviews, and episode reviews. Just
kind of blew my mind.
Great compliment. Yeah. It's just the more we hear something like that, I feel like if we're reaching out to them, can you imagine like how many of the like regular fans we're reaching out to as well? So it's pretty amazing stuff. I appreciate them spending, their generous time just checking out our show.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, there's people that, and I'm not talking about like our previous guests, but there's times where actors will just go on a show just to do their interview and that's it. But I feel like some of the people that we've had, they're actually checking out our stuff. So I do really appreciate that.
Just the fact that everybody that we've talked to has just been so, again, you use the phrase down to earth, and that's everything that I've seen. These are just regular people who are just being really kind of cool and enjoying the ride.
Yeah, I wonder if that's something that in the casting too. Like I've been trying to look up like the casting directors and stuff because I would love to speak to them as well. But maybe that's something that we're kind of looking for. Like that's got to be one of the characteristics that these actors also got to be down to earth. To this show is pretty grounded, but the humor can be a little, I don't know, over comedic for a lack of a better word, I guess. But I think the show is so well written. They definitely want to get people, as kind of what Vanessa said, that they want to get these natural dialogue, right? Kind of like with her
absolutely,
character. Yeah. So, so that's it for this episode. We got at least a few more, I think, in the works here in terms of the interviews. So we look forward to sharing those with you guys as well. I want to thank everybody for your continued support. We not too long ago released an episode where we reacted to John Hurwitz's Twitter Q&A on August 3rd, and it was kind of crazy that I think we released it like on a Saturday, and I feel on the weekends, people are, kind of busy with their own lives, right? That maybe that's not really a podcast listening type of day. But we were already getting like tweets and comments on Instagram like, oh, hey, great episode. I'm like, what? You already listened to it? So
most importantly, I finally got validation from somebody else that Back to the Future 2 is better, the lesser sequel. Back to the Future 3 rules.
Yeah, so you just been talking to the wrong people, Tom. Like, I don't think you and I have had that discussion. Again, it's just 1 6-hour saga to me. So, but yeah, I love me some Part 3. My son, who's 6 years old, that's his favorite DeLorean, is the one from Part 3.
It is a very cool looking car. Not gonna lie.
It's the most unique of them all, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we can't thank you guys enough for your support. We see it on Twitter, and I see the interactions, with our listeners as well, with other fellow listeners, maybe two people who have never talked, but share, their listenership with our show. And so I've seen other people like, hey, check these guys out. It's a good show. So thank you guys for spreading the word. That's how you guys are going to kind of get our show more attention, is by sharing it. So, again, I keep saying it, but we can't thank you guys enough. It's been a fun ride.
Absolutely.
So if you guys want to join in on some more fun, our group page, we kind of talked about it during the show here. It's been very active. We got background people in there. We got Cobra Kai moms. At this point, I think at least 5. We're getting a handful of people, what seems to be almost every day, and possibly maybe the most active Cobra Kai group page in there. There's threads about Karate Kid. There's threads about Cobra Kai. Just random threads. We started one for the Steel City Comic-Con, and 2 of our listeners went there as well, including one of the Instagram fan accounts, and just got amazing pictures. So you'll see those stuff on Instagram shared from, different accounts, but why not just join our group to see it all in one place?
Absolutely.
And Tom, I'm not sure if you missed this, but last night I even did a rewatch of the first episode, Ace Degenerate, and I kind of started a thread and just kind of live commented too. So, I'll do those on nights where I get a little bored. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to throw in an episode. And
Very
so I
cool.
think
Yeah.
I had about 30 comments in there on that first episode. So if that's something that sounds fun to you guys, again, it's all in the group page, Cobra Kai TV A and B group. You spell out the words period. It's a reference from the show. And also on Instagram, we are at Cobra Kai Podcast. Check that out because not too long ago, Gianni DiCenzo, who plays Dimitri, did a takeover, and I joined them on that, and that was a lot of fun. We got a lot of reception on that. And on Twitter, we're at Cobra Kai Pod. Okay, so be careful because there's another account that's Cobra Kai Podcast that also covers Cobra Kai. So for me, you can also find me at Paustalgic on my other movie podcast. And what about you, Tom?
Well, you can find me every week on a little show called Jake and Tom Conquer the World. You can follow me on Twitter at The Drunken Dork. And we also have another Facebook group. We also have another Facebook group page called Jake and Tom Conquer the Group.
All right, and that's going to do it for now. Thank you guys for listening to the episode, and we'll see you guys next time.